21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other.
Better, stronger, faster.
Unstoppable. He has only one purpose.
Win fights.
Hello there, welcome back to the channel. This is me, Tom Aspinall. Before you go any further, make sure you like and subscribe, of course. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We've not really done too much of this on the channel, to be honest, but we are going to do a review of last night's UFC in Perth. What a fight card. What a fight card it was. How lucky are we as UFC fans to be able to watch these high-level fights week after week, month after month. Another incredible pay-per-view event last night in Perth, and what an atmosphere it was, and what a fight card it was. So let's get into it. First of all, we're going to start with the main event. So, this fight, what a great fight, first of all. What a tremendous fight for us as the fans. Very, very interesting matchup of styles, as I spoke about in Tom Aspinall's Fight Lab, which is on TNT Sport. You can also find it on YouTube, where me, Adam Catterall, and a celebrity guest talk about the fights before the fights happen. Now you can come here to the Tom Aspinall official YouTube channel for breakdowns after the fights as well. So we're doing it all. We're doing it all over here on the channel. Back to the fights. Tremendous fight it was. First of all, I want to talk about Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is becoming, I mean, he's not becoming, he is a legend of the sport. With or without the belt, the guy has done it all. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need a belt, the guy, to be a champion. And obviously last night came up short to win the belt again. Crazy style matchup, really. Crazy style matchup. We spoke about it in the Fight Lab, where Israel is the kind of guy who needs space to be effective. He's long, he's 6'4", which is massive for middleweight, similar size to me. Uses a lot of fakes, has his hands low. Someone who I've learned a lot from with my style. Keeps his hands low, keeps twitching, keeps his opponents guessing. But he needs space to be able to do that. And he has fought guys who like to close a space, i.e. Costa, who he completely dominated the space against Paulo Costa. People like that who are extreme power punchers as well, like DDP is. And he managed to keep them at bay and pick them off. But last night, DDP, you can't count this guy out. Like, for me, as I'm not even going to call myself an analyst, because I watch fights. I mean, I'm definitely not an analyst, but I watch fights as a fan. But I also watch fights as a fighter to try and pick up little nuances that I can watch what guys do. And I love to study different styles. I love to study different opponents and what guys are doing to win. And for me personally, DDP is a guy who I'm baffled by. In all honesty, I'm completely baffled by his style, because you watch him, and to be quite brutally honest with DDP, you watch him and he looks a little, it's difficult to say, but a little bit inferior to his opponents in terms of technique. But it's amazing to watch, because he obviously isn't inferior to his opponents in technique. The game plans that this guy's doing for him and his coaches are absolutely unbelievable. Like, me personally, I think he's one of the smartest fighters in the UFC, and his team must be very, very smart as well. I don't know them guys personally, but the guy just finds a way to win. He's extremely physically strong. You can see that in the grappling exchanges. Extremely physically strong. And also, for what he kind of, I don't want to say that he's not as technical as the other guys, because he's obviously very, very technical. But sometimes he can look a little bit messy, and I'm sure we can all agree on that. Sometimes he does look a little bit messy in there. But he makes up for it in spirit, will to win, and just persistence. Like, if he doesn't get what he's going for, he will keep going for it and grind his opponents down until he gets it. And he just looked fantastic out there last night. Like, both guys looked amazing. What a clash of styles. As I said, we got Israel Adesanya, keeps his opponents at bay with the fakes, with his long style, and DDP last night was just having absolutely none of it. Fascinating guy to watch, DDP, because as I said, you look at him and think, he's a bit raw here, he's a bit messy there, he's doing this a little bit wrong, this is... But the guy's timing, he has this unorthodox, herky-jerky, weird kind of timing where he just systematically breaks down his opponents, and his spirit is just something that I can be inspired by. Do you know what I mean? I'll just watch this guy all day and be like, wow, this guy is just mentally and physically grinding his opponents down. Very close fight, do you know what I mean? Both guys were going back and forward. Both guys had rallies. Both guys had exchanges. Both guys were hurt. DDP was wearing on him with the grappling a lot. And this guy is so physically strong, but we got to give him credit for his fight IQ as well. Like, he systematically broke down Israel Adesanya, and that is not something that's done easily. Do you know what I mean? We've seen a lot of guys fight him. We've seen Derek Brunson fight him, wanted to wear him down. We've seen Paulo Costa. We've seen Sean Strickland, who did manage to wear him down a little bit. But DDP just went out there and just inspiring performance for a guy like me, who's in a similar position to DDP. Do you know what I mean? We're both elite at the top of the division, and I look at guys both like DDP and Israel Adesanya, inspired by both guys. Both guys are going to go down as greats in the sport, and just a fantastic fight for us being the fans. Right, yo, the big boys, the heavyweights, the ones that I'm interested in. I mean, I'm interested in everybody, but come on. We love the heavyweights around here. We love the heavyweights on the Tom Aspinall official channel. Come on, we're all about the heavyweight fighting. Tai Tuivasa, Jairzinho Rosenstruck. As advertised, do you know what I mean? As advertised. Let's be honest, we didn't see a big dirty knockout, which we all wanted. We did see a good scrap though, a decent scrap. Not a lot of technique there, not a lot of strategy there. More strategy in the favour of Rosenstruck, who is obviously, I mean, I could comfortably say this after last night, a bit more of a technical fighter than Tai Tuivasa. But we knew that coming in. We knew that coming into this fight. Tai likes to get out there and just have a bit of a bang out. Do you know what I mean? Anyone with any skill, and I don't want to kick a man while he's down here in Tai Tuivasa. Anyone with any kind of skill and fight IQ, for the most part, unless Tai Tuivasa lands one, obviously, he's got very, very heavy hands and great low kicks as well. Anyone with any kind of skill and fight IQ is going to beat Tai Tuivasa. Anyone who's at like a good level, do you know what I mean? Anyone who's in the top 10 with some brain power in there, who can stay away from his punches, because let's be honest, he's got discrepancies in his game. He comes in, he's heavy, he's a big boy, he's obviously, you know, I don't know what he's up to in training and with his diet, but he's not looking great, and he's definitely had a few wins in his career. But there's only so long you can do that for before you take this stuff serious. Do you know what I mean? I definitely don't want to kick a man while he's down at all. But it's going to be tough to maintain that at an elite level against guys with elite mindsets who are taking it serious. Do you know what I mean? I don't know Tai. I don't know what he's doing on his day-to-day basis, but I think by his physique and his performances, anyone with any brain power and fight IQ, if you can stay away from his punches, you're probably going to win the fight. And that's kind of what we seen last night from Rosenstruck. Like, Rosenstruck's a good striker, been around the game a long time. Rosenstruck did a standard Rosenstruck performance, you know what I mean? There wasn't a great amount of footwork. These guys are not fleet-footed, do you know what I mean? They're not going in and out. They're not using setups and fakes, and you know, there's no question marks there if you're going to get a takedown, or, you know, you're not worried about that when you fight these guys. You're worried about two guys standing in front of each other, having a trade-off. The feet are going to be flat on the floor. They're going to be swinging and missing, swinging and hitting, and that's what we saw. One guy who's technically a little bit better than the other guy, You know, not a lot to report on. We would have loved to see a big dirty knockout in there. You know, I'm a fan of both guys. Always love to see Ty, you know, knocking somebody out, doing a big shoey in Perth. That would have been tremendous. You know what I mean? That would have been great scenes. But as I said, the more technical guy won last night. Rosenstruck is technically better than Ty, even though Ty definitely had a big chance to win. But yeah, as advertised, as I said, as advertised, two heavyweights with knockout power. Not a great load of strategy in there, really. Two guys banging it out. Unfortunately, none of them really went down. But a good fight regardless from both guys, so fair play to both men for that. Okay, guys, let's get into the next one. Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. Bit of a surprising one for me, this. In all honesty, I was starting to think that Dan Hooker is kind of like starting to be on the slide a little bit. In all honesty. And I love Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's someone I know personally. Always been a fan of Dan. He brings it, he brings the fight. But he's definitely at the back end of his career now. But as he showed last night, he's still got them performances in there. He's still got a lot left in the tank. And Gamrot, I'm quite familiar with Gamrot as someone with Polish connections like me. I follow a lot of Polish fighters just as I follow the British fighters. And I follow Gamrot's career a lot. I don't know him personally, but I like his style. He brings a lot of great grappling attacks. And I thought that style in particular, as I spoke about on Fight Lab, I thought that style would definitely be a problem for Dan Hooker. I mean, it was a problem at times, but Dan Hooker really used his experience last night. He managed to negate a lot of the grappling attacks from Gamrot. He was doing a lot of diving at the legs though, desperately diving at the legs. But Dan Hooker, being so tall for the weight, managed to control the space really well, which was fantastic. You know, he's a veteran of the game. He's an absolute veteran, and sometimes when you've had that many fights, even though he's had a lot of losses in his career at this point, he's had obviously a lot more wins than he's had losses. I don't know his record, I'd have to look it up, but the guy's had a lot of fights. I know that. He's had a lot of fights, and that counts for so much. He's seen this style a lot before. But as I said, I was a bit questionable for what has Dan Hooker got left in the tank at this point. Listen, mate, question answered. Dan Hooker's got a lot left in the tank. Back and forward fight. Interesting fight. Again, interesting matchup of styles, completely different styles. Gamrot obviously grappling heavy, but he's got some striking too, do you know what I mean? Let's not give him a nice little shiner in, I believe, at the end of the first round. Cut his eye open and stuff, Gamrot did to Hooker. So the striking threat was there as well, but Dan Hooker negated the grappling so well. Used his length a lot. Gamrot, the short guy, kept him at bay with the strikes. Dan Hooker's always dangerous, and something that I love about Dan Hooker, just as a fan of MMA, as a fan of two guys being in there. Let's see who wins. Let's stick the gloves on. Let's take the shirts off. Dan Hooker brings it, man. He brings it. Like, if you're watching a Dan Hooker fight, he's going to bring it. He's going to bring the excitement every time, and we love to see it as fans. So, yeah, big fan of both guys. I thought, as I've alluded to, I said on the Fight Lab show, Tom Aspinall's Fight Lab, make sure you tune in if you've not already. It's a good show, man. It's getting better as well. Getting some great guests on coming up soon. Anyway, forget about the plug. I thought Gamrot would be a little bit too much for Hooker with the grappling. I think he's an elite level grappler for MMA, one of the best grapplers in MMA, Gamrot. And Hooker managed to negate that. He managed to keep him off. He managed to use his game plan, which is very tough. You know what I mean? When you're fighting someone who's very grappling heavy like Gamrot is, it's tough to get your own strikes off. And Hooker managed to do that. His experience paved the way in this fight. he wasn't fighting at home. He's a Kiwi. He's a New Zealand guy. He's fighting in Australia, very close to his home, obviously, over that side of the world. And big win on somewhere that was close to his home soil. So congratulations to Dan Hooker for that one. And that'll do us for today, guys. Just remember, as I said, like and subscribe. We've got some big stuff coming up this week. This week, actually, we've got a cracking video coming up. We're going to clap back. We're clapping back at John Jones.
John Jones is probably watching this, so send him a message.
Hello, John. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight, so I'm coming for it.
We're after John Jones. We want the John Jones fight around here. We're trying to make it happen. The fans want to see it happen. Everyone wants to see it happen. Apparently, according to Mr. Dana White, the boss man, the CEO, the main dog, the best, not even mixed martial arts promoter, the best combat sports promoter ever, is saying that John Jones is the pound for pound number one. How do I feel about that? How do I feel about fighting the pound for pound number one in the world? Make sure you like and subscribe. You're going to find out this week. I'm going to reply to Dana White. I'm going to reply to John Jones. And we're coming for you, man. John Jones, we are coming for you on the channel. Not just on the channel. We're coming for you in the octagon as well. So, like and subscribe. Find out what happens this week. Big video coming later this week.